Hello, sweet squirrel people. Squirrel people. It's like something out of a sci fi movie. I think we were in chapter, who knows what. Was it 9 of Wuthering Heights? I don't, you'll see it on the title. I just don't know at the reading of this. But I think we're at a part 2 because I'm not at the beginning of a chapter. So let me go back just a little bit. I see no reason that he should not know as well as you, I returned, and if you are his choice, he'll be the most unfortunate creature that ever was born. As soon as you become Mrs. Linton, he loses friend and love and all. Have you considered how you'll bear the separation, and how he'll bear to be quite deserted in the world because Miss Catherine, he, quite deserted, we separated, she exclaimed with an accent of indignation. Who is to separate us, pray? They'll meet the fate of Milo. Maybe she was saying, we, it's not a question though. Not as long as I live, Ellen, for no mortal creature. Every Linton on the face of the earth might melt into nothing before I could consent to forsake Heathcliff, so she's saying. Not separated. Oh, that's not what I intend. That's not what I mean. I shouldn't be Mrs. Linton. Were such a price demanded, he'll be as much to me as he has been all his lifetime. Edgar must shake off his antipathy and tolerate him at least. He will when he learns my true feelings towards him. Nellie, I see now you think me a selfish wretch, but did it never strike you that if Heathcliff and I married, we should be beggars? Whereas if I marry Linton, I can aid Heathcliff to rise and place him out of my brother's power. With your husband's money, Miss Catherine? I asked. You'll find him not so pliable as you calculate upon, and though I'm hardly a judge, I think that's the worst motive you've given yet for being the wife of young Linton. It is not, retorted she, it is the best. The others were the satisfaction of my whims, and for Edgar's sake too, to satisfy him. This is for the sake of one who comprehends in his person my feelings to Edgar and myself. I cannot express it, but surely you and everybody have a notion that there is or should be an existence of yours beyond you. What were the use of my creation if I were entirely contained here? My great miseries in this world have been Heathcliff's miseries, and I watched and felt each from the beginning. My great thought in living is himself. If all else perished and he remained, I should still continue to be. And if all else remained and he were annihilated, the universe would turn to a mighty stranger. I should not seem a part of it. My love for Linton is like the foliage in the woods. Time will change it. I'm well aware, as winter changes the trees. My love for Heathcliff resembles the eternal rocks beneath, a source of little visible delight, but necessary. Nellie, I am Heathcliff. He's always, always in my mind, not as a pleasure any more than I am always a pleasure to myself, but as my own being. So don't talk of our separation again. It is impracticable. And she paused and hid her face in the folds of my gown, but I jerked it forcibly away. I was out of patience with her folly. If I can make any sense of your nonsense, miss, I said, it only goes to convince me that you are ignorant of the duties you undertake in marrying, or else that you are a wicked, unprincipled girl. But trouble me with no more secrets. I'll not promise to keep them. You'll keep that? She asked eagerly. No, I'll not promise, I repeated. She was about to insist when the entrance of Joseph finished our conversation, and Catherine removed her seat to a corner and nursed Hareton while I made the supper. After it was cooked, my fellow servant and I began to quarrel who should carry some to Mr. Henley, and we didn't settle it till all was nearly cold. Then we came to an agreement that we would let him ask if he wanted any, for we feared particularly to go into his presence when he had been some time alone. And how isn't that Nout's come to in fro the field be this time? What is he about? Gert idle. This is Joseph's talk. I can't say it. Gert idle sight, remanded the old man, looking round for Heathcliff. I'll call him, I replied. He's in the barn, I've no doubt. I went and called, but got no answer. On returning, I whispered to Catherine that he had heard a good part of what she said. I was sure, and told how I saw him quit the kitchen just as she complained of her brother's conduct regarding him. She jumped up in a fine fright, flung Hareton onto the settle, and ran to seek for her friend herself, not taking leisure to consider why she was so flurried, or how her talk would have affected him. She was absent such a while that Joseph proposed we should wait no longer. He cunningly conjectured that they were staying away in order to avoid hearing his protracted blessing. They were ill enough for any, for this, he is talking again. They were ill enough for only foul manners, he affirms. And on their behalf, he added that night a special prayer. To the usual quarter of an hour's supplication before meat, and would have tacked another to the end of the grace had not a young mistress broken in upon him with a hurried command that he must run down the road, and wherever Heathcliff had rambled, find and make him re-enter directly. I want to speak to him, and I must before I go upstairs, she said. And the gate is open. He was somewhere out of our hearing, for he would not reply, though I shouted at the top of the fold as loud as I could. Joseph had objected at first. She was too much in earnest, however, to suffer contradiction, and at last he placed his hat on his head and walked grumbling forth. Meantime, Catherine paced up and down the floor, exclaiming, I wonder where he is. I wonder where he can be. What did I say, Nellie? I've forgotten. Was he vexed at my bad humor this afternoon? Dear, tell me what I've said to grieve him. I do wish he'd come. I do wish he would. What a noise for nothing, I cried, though rather uneasy myself. What a trifle scares you. It's surely no great cause of alarm that Heathcliff should take a moonlight saunter on the moors, even lie too sulkily to speak to us in the hayloft. I'll engage he's lurking there, see if I don't ferret him out. I departed to renew my search. Its result was disappointment, and Joseph's quest ended in the same. Yon lad gets war and war, observed he on re-entering. He's left the gate at to full swing, and Mrs. Pony has trodden to 2 rigs of corn, and plottered through right over to meadow. Hawsome diver to meister'll play to devil tomorrow, and he'll do will. His patient, it's seldom, it's hard to read this, with such careless, often craters, patience is he is. But he'll not be so Alice, y'all see, on all ye. Y'all meant to drive him out of his heed for nowt. Have you found Heathcliff, you ass? Interrupted Catherine. Have you looked for him as I ordered? I said more liquor look for the horse, he replied. It'd be to more sense, but I can look for norther horse nor man of a neat like this, for a night like this, as black as the chimbley. Come on. And Heathcliff's known to chap to coom at my whistle, happen he'll be less hard of hearing wi' ye. It was a very dark evening for summer. The clouds appeared inclined to thunder, and I said we all better sit down. The approaching rain would be certain to bring him home without further trouble. However, Catherine would not be persuaded into tranquillity. She kept wandering to and fro from the gate to the door in a state of agitation, which permitted no repose, and at length took up a permanent situation on one side of the wall near the road, where, heedless of my expostulations and the growling thunder and the great drops that began to splash around her, she remained, calling at intervals and then listening and then crying outright. She beat Hareton or any child at a good passionate fit of crying. About midnight, while we were still up, the storm came rattling over the heights in full fury. There was a violent wind as well as thunder, and either one or other split a tree off the corner of the building. A huge bough fell across the roof and knocked down a portion of the east chimney stack, sending a clatter of stones and soot into the kitchen fire. We thought a bolt had fallen in the middle of us, and Joseph swung on his knees, beseeching the Lord to remember the patriarchs Noah and Lot, and as in former times spare the righteousness, though he smote the ungodly. I felt some sentiment that it must be a judgment on us also. The Jonah in my mind was Mr. Earnshaw, and I shook the handle of his den that I might ascertain if he were yet living. He replied audibly enough in a fashion which made my companion vociferate, more clamorous than before, that a wide distinction might be drawn between saints like himself and sinners like his master. But the uproar passed away in 20 minutes, leaving us all unharmed except Kathy, who got thoroughly drenched for her obstinacy in refusing to take shelter, and standing bonnetless and shawlless to catch as much water as she could with her hair and clothing. She came in and lay down on the settle, all soaked as she was, turning her face to the back and putting her hands before it. "Well, miss," I exclaimed, touching her shoulder, "you are not bent on getting your death, are you? Do you know what o'clock it is? 12:30. Come to bed. There's no use waiting any longer on that foolish boy. He'll be gone to Gimmerton, and he'll stay there now. He guesses we shouldn't wait for him till this late hour. At least, he guesses that only Mr. Henley would be up, and he'd rather avoid having the door opened by the master. Nay, he's not at Gimmerton." "He's not," said Joseph. "I's never wonder but he's at the bottom of a bog hole. This visitation won't be for nowt, and I would heave ye look out, Miss, ya must be the next. Thank heaven for all. He works together for good to them as is chosen, and picked out fro the rubbish. Y'all know what the scripture says," and he began quoting several texts referring us to chapters and verses where we might find them. I, having vainly begged the willful girl to rise and remove her wet things, left him preaching her left him preaching and her shivering, and betook myself to bed with little Hareton, who slept as fast as if everyone had been sleeping round him. I heard Joseph read on a while afterwards, and I distinguished his slow step on the ladder, and then I dropped asleep. Coming down somewhat later than usual, I saw by the sunbeams piercing the chinks of the shutters Miss Catherine still seated near the fireplace. The house door was ajar too. Light entered from its unclosed windows. Henley had come out and stood on the kitchen hearth, haggard and drowsy. "What ails you, Kathy?" he was saying when I entered. "You look as dismal as a drowned whelp. Why are you so damp and pale, child?" "I've been wet," she answered reluctantly, "and I'm cold, that's all." "Oh, she is naughty," I cried, perceiving the master to be tolerably sober. "She got steeped in the shower of yesterday evening, and there she has sat the night through, and I couldn't prevail on her to stir." Mr. Henshaw stared at us in surprise. The night through," he repeated. "What kept her up? Not fear of thunder, surely. That was over hours since." Neither of us wished to mention Heathcliff's absence, as long as we could conceal it, so I replied, I didn't know how she took it into her head to sit up, and she said nothing. The morning was fresh and cool. I threw back the lattice, and presently the room filled with sweet scents from the garden. But Catherine called peevishly to me, "Ellen, shut the window. I'm starving," and her teeth chattered as she shrank closer to the almost extinguished embers. "She's ill," said Henley, taking her wrist. "I suppose that's the reason she would not go to bed. Damn it, I don't want to be troubled with more sickness here. What took you into the rain?" "Running after the lads, as usual," croaked Joseph, catching an opportunity from our hesitation to thrust in his evil tongue. If I were ya, master, I'd just slam to boards in their faces, all on 'em. Gentle and simple, never a day. Never a day while you're off, but yon cat O'Linton comes sneaking hither, and Miss Nellie, she's a fine lass, she sits watching you in t' kitchen, and as you're in at one door, he's out at t' other, and then where grand lady goes a-courting of her side. It's bonny behaviour looking among t' fields after 12 of the night, with thy foul, flaysome divil of a gypsy Heathcliff. They think I'm blind, but I'm known nout at the sort, nothing of the sort. I see young Linton both coming and going, and I see ya," directing his discourse to me, "ya good for nout slatingly witch, nip up and bolt into the house t' minute ya heard the master's horse fit clatter up the road." "Silence, eavesdroppers!" cried Catherine. "None of your insolence before me. Edgar Linton came yesterday by chance, Hindley, and if you do turn him out of doors, I'll go with him, but perhaps you'll never have an opportunity. Perhaps he's gone." Here she burst into uncontrollable grief, and the remainder of her words were inarticulate. Hindley lavished on her a torrent of scornful abuse, and bade her to get to her room immediately, or she shouldn't cry for nothing. I obliged her to obey, and I shall never forget what a scene she acted when we reached her chamber. It terrified me. I thought she was going mad, and I begged Joseph to run for the doctor. It proved the commencement of delirium. Mr. Kenneth, as soon as he saw her, pronounced her dangerously ill. She had a fever. He bled her, and he told me to let her live on whey and water gruel. That sounds gross. Good triple C. And take care she did not throw herself downstairs or out the window. Then he left, for he had enough to do in the parish where 2 or 3 miles was the ordinary distance between cottage and cottage. Though I cannot say I made a gentle nurse, and Joseph and the master were no better, and though our patient, I hope I'm at the right place. I swear this don't seem right. Let me look a minute. Get off of there. Okay, hang on, everybody. This just seems weird. I thought I was near the end. I guess it's right. I think I must stop there, though. This one's going to have a chapter 3. A part 3. Because it's long. We've been reading over 20 minutes. So I'll stop there, and this one will just have a part 3, as I just said. So today's Tuesday. I won't be having a live today. But I hope to get to sharing Zoom. I kept saying I was going yesterday, and then I got there a little bit yesterday, but not for very long. Okay, we'll see you if you come to Zoom. Sharon's Corner. Sharon's Crochet Corner. If you go there, you can find out about it or message Sharon through Facebook Messenger, and she can give you the room. I can give you the room number, but I would rather not give anybody the password. I feel like that's, since she's the hostess, that's for her to do. So, but I will see y'all later, and hope to see you tomorrow on live at 5. Set your alarms. Wednesday and Friday, 5 a.m. Eastern. Love to you. Oh, look at my eyes. It's right before going out again. Be sweet. Don't be ugly. Bye-bye.